Hello, my friend. Welcome. I hope you're doing super. This is Heather. This is the Back to Me podcast. And today I am talking with Damla Aktekin. And we are talking inner child, but maybe in healing, but maybe not in a way you think. We're talking about crystals, definitely not in a way that I've ever talked about crystals and healing. And it's just so interesting. And of course, all of this is talking about how to help you be healed and be your best self in all of the experiences of this human life that we're in. So have a listen. Definitely have a check out of Damla's website and let me know what you think. Talk to you soon. Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friend. How are you? I hope you're having an outstanding day. This is Heather. This is the Back to Me podcast where we talk about wellness, all things wellness, but not just the mainstream talking about wellness because everybody talks about that stuff and it's boring. We talk about the interesting stuff and we try to bring you interesting things to contemplate or to have a new idea about. And today is no exception to the awesomeness, talking to another one of my awesome people. And this is, now that I've said it correctly, I'll probably get it wrong. Damla Aktekin, right?
That's pretty good.
Yay, from a drop of Om. And when we first met, drop of Om, I was just like, oh, that just makes me so happy. Just the name of your company makes me happy. So just imagine how far we can go with this. The first thing that I'm always very curious about is what was your journey to come to this place where you are now? Because we don't often start in this place that we find ourselves. It's always a journey. And I'm always fascinated by how people come to these places of healing and helping.
Let's see what wants to come about that today.
Yeah, right.
So I am now an inner child, energetic wound healer, crystal healing teacher, a writer, an intuitive reader, astrologer. I wasn't always. I actually started out life studying engineering, and then I did my MBA. I got into business consulting, and I ran into a health issue. I suddenly developed migraines, and that led me to discovering yoga. And for a while there, yoga became my life, from living a life where I was in my head only.
Right. Yeah.
Then I discovered I had a body, which was a big realization. And then in 2012, I gave birth through an emergency C-section to my daughter. And everything I knew was no help. I found myself in this deep dark of just this deep well that I was sinking deeper and deeper into. And I desperately needed for ways to reconnect with myself and to be a resource to myself and to my child, to my relationships. And that led me to discovering, first of all, realizing how depleted I had been up to that point. I had no idea that I had been living with energetic wounds. I had no idea that they extended beyond my body and mind and into my energetic beingness. I had no idea and no concept of crystals, inner children, none of those. And mantras were my first stop in diving into the vibrational realm and realizing that we're drops of Om, drops of vibration in a sea of Om, and then crystals. And then that led me to discover, as I was diving deeper and deeper into crystal healing in myself, teaching it to groups, holding one-on-one sessions, I realized I was getting a glimpse of the inner children's world, the inner children's realm, the goddess Inanna's realm, the realm of what I call the inner night sky. I can tell you more about that, but that's basically, in very brief brush strokes, what led me here.
It's never a simple short path, right? It's always, something leads to something, leads to something. And I think it's so interesting that you said that you discovered you had a body, which sounds like a funny thing for someone to say if they haven't had the experience of really connecting with their physical 3D being, right? It's because I've been teaching yoga for a long time, and you can tell the people who are in yoga but don't yet know they have a body. So I love the way you phrased that. And it is interesting. There are so many levels of healing that people can have. And there is physical healing. I mean, we were just talking about that. I'm healing from my broken arm, and which is a physical healing, but there's other layers to it. The energetic healing is important. And we don't recognize often when we have an energetic wound or a depletion until we start to fix it. Do you know what I mean? It feels sometimes people think it's their normal state. Does that make sense?
There's definitely a part where you don't even know that you have wounds. I don't know if I agree with the part that we become more aware of them as we start to fix them, because I don't see it as fixing them.
Right.
I see it as going in, diving in, finding out the not realized potentials and then bringing them out. I also see it as like, unless you go really deep into that cloud, you're not going to have the impetus and the will, wish, and the readiness to want to come out.
Right. You have to go through the cycle.
Yeah.
Almost to see.
That said, I have to say, I mean, I have a podcast as well called Conversations with Healers. In talking with up to 100 healers, there were 2 people. The rest of them were just like we were talking about. They go into a cloud, into deep darkness, and then you need to pull yourself out. These 2 people, they were both men. It felt to me where they didn't have to go into a deep dark well. I'm sure they had their struggles, but they were like almost like they just went in the direction of their bliss,
right,
their light. Whereas some of us, we don't even realize that that's a possibility until we get really deep and dark into those deep and dark places.
I wonder if sometimes they can't see the light unless it's dark. Like, just this vision just appeared to me of like, you're in the darkness, but you can see the pinpoint of light. And you're like, oh, over there is what you mean. It wasn't dark enough yet. I didn't see it.
Yeah. Would you like to hear my dream about that? My
Yes.
dream. So this was before my trip to Egypt. I know you've been to Egypt as well, which is a magical place. So this is around the time when I was beginning to understand that I was actually working with inner children. In my dream, I saw myself in Egypt by the Great Pyramid, and it's nighttime, and I'm looking up, and I look up at the night sky, and it's covered with the cosmos. It's covered with these lights, just shining lights of stars and planets, and people are passing me by and they don't look. And I keep just, pushing them. And I'm like, do you see this? Do you see this? And some of them see it. And then some of them just pass me by. And I woke up knowing I was looking at the inner night sky, to the potentials of the inner children. Because in my view, if you look at the timeline of yourself as an ever existing within the now one, at any point you get a trauma, there are versions of you that haven't yet realized. So the version of the happy child is there. The version of the unbroken baby is there. So I see the inner children as these realized or yet to be realized potentials of light that exist in us that we can access and activate. And then later on, I got to stand by the Great Pyramid at nighttime and see the stars, which was
Right.
a good, good
Yeah.
moment.
Right. It's like, oh yes, I was already here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a spectacular place, and there is a lot of energy in those spaces, like in all of these sacred sites. I find there's a lot of energy, and I'm interested because you hear inner child used a lot for various things, and you touched on it a little bit, that like you see these versions of the inner children that you're trying to, I guess, bring out. When you're saying inner child, are you thinking, or maybe you can just tell me what your ideas are behind the inner child and healing the inner child?
Inner child, inner children to me they're not singular. They are versions of you that exist in the quantum world that you can get in touch with and activate and bring to life. Also, it's not just your inner children that exist in you, it's your inner children of your past lives, parallel and future lives, the inner children of your ancestors, the inner children of their past, parallel, future lives, and so on and so forth.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is it just in this particular existence that we're healing the inner child? Because there's so many layers, and
No, I've had sessions where the person coming in sees, instead of seeing an inner child, sees the picture of a past life, and then we go to the inner child of a past life and so on. So it can be like a, what's that Russian doll situation?
oh yeah, the nesting dolls.
Egg within an egg within an egg type of thing. But there's usually one dominant wound and one inner child waiting, longing, hoping to connect with you because they have something to say, and they go to enormous trouble to hide that potential because of safety reasons. So it's up to
Right.
you now to reassure your nervous system, your being, your energy body, to let them thrive in you.
Right. And I mean, I had a conversation once with an art therapist who was trying to close down the inner critic voice. I said, well, I don't know that you should do that. I mean, it's, and the same with the inner child and all of these different layers of these different things that are trying to protect us. Instead, I think it's more useful to embrace them and bring them in and sit and reassure, like you said, reassure them, we are safe. It's okay. Like, let's just heal this part and let the brilliance shine, whatever your brilliance is.
Yeah, I mean, they like doing a job.
Yeah.
Any 7-year-old would want to help you in the kitchen. So they like doing a job. It's just that 7-year-old in you has been used to getting your attention through giving you a stiff neck. Whenever you feel in danger, you can tell them, how about you place your hand in my heart when that would be helpful to me. So you can give them
Right.
a different job. But to be able to do that, you need to first connect with them, and that takes some loving attention, because the realm of the inner children is magical, symbolic, works with music, works with symbols, images. They don't always respond to words because they don't exist in that too much involved words yet.
Right.
Some of them exist just simply based on feeling. Like, does this feel okay? Does this feel soft, warmth, or cold? I mean, Each and every inner child in you has a unique language that you get to discover.
That's cool. And how do the crystals come in?
Crystals.
I know it's a huge, massive topic, and my crystals just seem to keep breeding. I look over at my table. It's
Yeah.
just like, where did you come from? But yeah, how do the crystals come into this?
Well, crystals are there, right? Crystals are the making blocks of the multiverse. They're the beautifully repeating molecules that tell us of sacred geometry, that tell us of our origins, our star origins, our planet origins. They are everywhere from that distant star to the soil underneath your feet to the air where there's bacteria. Of course, everything that's with DNA is crystalline because DNA is a liquid crystal.
Mm.
The thing with crystals is they hold, keep, store information, they cohere information, they can amplify and expand it, they can intensify and laser like focus it, they can connect things. The thing with crystals is just like in our children, the language is unspoken. And because we are crystals and crystalline, our bodies are made up of mostly liquid crystals. Our fascia is crystalline. Our skin has piezoelectric crystalline properties. Our eyes, 90% water, crystalline. Our bones, 65% or more minerals. So we are kin, we're relatives, and there are ancestors as being our building blocks. So what that means is when you hold a crystal in your hand, they already know you.
Mm.
They can feel you and sense you and know you. Same with you. You got to understand though, crystal's life is much longer than ours.
Yeah.
And because they're more static, seemingly static, we are fascinating for them. We change so easily, but we also go out of coherence so easily. We're chaotic beings of liquid. So I imagine them being fascinated by us and wanting to understand us in that way. And for me, they're fascinating because the wisdom they hold, each and every crystal, each and every rose quartz crystal, for instance, is connected to each and every rose quartz in the multiverse, and then to each and every crystal in that multiverse. That includes all the beings. And I include planets and comets and whatnot in the category of the beings, as well as space. So you can imagine the immensity of that network in wisdom. When we say everything is one and everything is connected, yes, because we're all crystalline. So that means also when you look at the crystal with love, when you hold the crystal with love, instead of, I'm going to use you this way, but not like that, but with respect,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to amplify that. They're going to expand that. They're going to send it right back to you. And then they're going to go out into the multiverse and they're going to connect you to that love transmission that exists, that is everywhere. Can you imagine the power of that? So that's what crystals are, and that's what crystals do. They're our partners in expanding and knowing the love that we are, and in connecting the love that exists around us.
And I've never heard us described as crystalline entities before. So you don't think of it as maybe because for me, when I imagine a crystal, I think of, something that looks like solid and hard, and maybe it's pointy or maybe it's been polished, but you don't think of on every scale, like crystals can be not perceivable with the naked eye, and the piezoelectric of the skin, you're like, oh, I was like, oh yeah, that is. So And so do you use crystals when you're doing the healings for the inner children? Is that part of like that connecting to that?
I don't ever use them. I partner and co-create with
Right. Thank you. Yes.
And let's get back to the piezoelectricity for a minute. Piezoelectricity means that you create an electrical charge by touch. And quartz crystals in particular have that. So that's how the watches work. That's how vibrational things in technology utilize crystals. So when you touch a crystal on one end, that's vibrational pulse gets carried and amplified into the other side. Same with us. That's how the meridians, that's how acupuncture, acupressure, massage works. You press on one point and that gets carried over in your system to another point. Let's give another example. You're not touching, but someone you love calls you and then you immediately feel the uplift. Or someone yells at you something angry from a distance, but you feel that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other piece that we don't talk about ourselves or for crystals, but they talk subtle energy. So they feel, they sense, they take in, they work with subtle energy. So of course I do partner with them during my inner child healings because they take I usually do these healings online. They take the place of the body of my client, but more than that, they get involved as a partner, as a light holder when you're diving into the deep caves of the body, which holds treasures but also dangers and fears. They hold like a torch in there. They're big helpers.
And so because they are they are entities and they have energy. I mean, I know there's people who say, "Oh, you have to clean the crystals this way or this way." Like, do they need that assistance from us?
Yeah.
This is like a curiosity that just popped into my head.
Yeah. Notice I haven't called them entities. I have called them kin, brothers, sisters,
Right.
and ancestors.
Right.
So entity to me is like this outside. It's
Oh, okay.
and also, I mean, the kind of intelligence that they hold it's akin to us. Our body knows it. Our cells know it. Perhaps not necessarily in words, but in energy, we know each other.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of clearing the crystals are nature. As I said, they take in, they cohere, they store, and they bring out and take out the subtle information just like we do. Do we need clearing, recohering? Yes, we do. In a lot of the times, though, their kind of cohering is more, or need for cohering is more for us and with us. It's more for us. I mean, they have a beautifully repeating molecular structure, so they're not going to get out of whack as
Right.
often or as easily as we do. Of course, you can hold the intention of just holding a crystal in your hand and intending it to be cleared. But I want to be very clear: it's not going to be the sage smoke or moonlight or anything else that clears it. It's going to be your love essence. It's going to be your quantum vibrational power that
Right.
clears the crystal, or that recoheres it, because you're emanating love out of your hand into the crystal.
The intention versus the ceremony.
The ceremony, I'm not opposed to the ceremony, but I got to be very clear where the power belongs. The power belongs in you.
Right. Right. And I feel like, the crystals are solid, like, a block of ice, and then we're the steam just flying around. Like they are more, and not that ice is still, but they're more in that like static state where steam is, or even water is just flying everywhere and changeable at every moment with the breeze.
Yeah, we're not that Um, Gaseous, though we're more liquid, so I wonder.
Yeah,
I
maybe steam is
wonder.
too much.
Yeah, we're like liquid plasma. Um, yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know that I wanted to make sure that I was just looked over at my list because I know you have on your website, you have all kinds of resources. That's the word I'm looking for, resources for people. And but it's not just about crystals. I think you have a crystal healing membership, right?
I do, and my crystal healing membership has over 100 crystal healing recordings. Long and short, I have these mini healings there, 5-10 minutes long to 45 to 60 minute, more focused energetic wound healings. The thing with crystals is it's a unique journey for every single person. And I don't see my role to be the person that goes in between you and your crystals, but I do see my role as someone who might help you enhance your connection with them and help you get there quicker. And that's what that membership is. And I do see anything and everything you do with the intention of love and healing with your body as crystal healing, because you are essentially a crystal.
Right, right,
So I do have EFT tappings there that create I would say, electric charge, healing charge through your
right.
meridians. I do have some sound healings there. So there's a lot there. You can check it out. And then on my website at dropofom.com, ADROPOFOM.com, I have free resources, a few free meditations, as well as one quiz that will help you feel into what your energetic wounds might be. That's probably the most important first step, to
Right.
know what your wounding might be. And then you
Do you
can.
find that people are like the people who are drawn to you for do you call it treatment or how do you call what you help people with?
Healing, inner
Healing?
child healing.
Yeah. Do you find that they're already aware of it or they come to you because there's something wrong and they don't know what it might be?
That's a good question. I mean, there are varying degrees. There are some people who follow me for a year or two before they might hop on a session with me. And then others just see my name or the website and then they're like, I have to do this. And we
Right.
go deep and power into powerful sessions. So it's really about where you are on your journey and what you're ready, willing, and able to do.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of self-healing, which my membership and as well as a lot of the free meditations I share help with. But then there comes a point where you would benefit from, especially if you reached a plateau, like nothing feels like it's moving. It would be wise to partner with a healer you trust.
Right. I had an acupuncturist once compare it to, he said, yes, you can give yourself well, if you're trained for it, you can give yourself acupuncture, but it's kind of like tickling yourself. It's just not as effective. So,
Yeah, and perhaps not as pleasurable. It's
right?
fun to partner and get help.
Yeah. And I mean, I enjoy going to healers because as there's always, and I was in a session last night where it was actually my coach. He said, no one can see themselves from the outside. So you may be very in tune with yourself, but there's a perspective of you and what's going on with you that you can't access without assistance.
Yes, and we all have blind sides,
Yeah.
that things we that are in our vision, but we don't want to see. We don't want to
Yes.
see them.
It's like, no, that's not real. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Right? That's amazing. And oh my gosh, there's like so many good things here for people to just, I mean, my ultimate goal when I'm helping people is just to help them get into alignment with themselves and have a happy life. I mean, it sounds simple, but and maybe it is simple in some ways, but I feel like that so many of the people who come on the podcast, everybody's approaching it from a different way but it's all the same in the end. You're trying to help people live a happier, healthier life, really.
I think the way I call it is, what if there's more to it than you've been taught? What if you can shine brighter and better than you've ever thought possible? What if you have access to more joy, love, and presence than you have known to this date? I mean, and it could be as simple as connecting with that 3-year-old in you and feeding them what they need, nourishing
Right.
them what they need to be nourished. It sounds so simple, yet we're not told these ways. We're not instructed in ways of the subtle energy, the subtle realms in us, the realms of the goddess Inanna. We don't know about diving underneath the surface. But more often than not, all of us come to a point in our lives where either forced to dive in to the darkness or get pushed to dive into or we choose to. At this point in my life, I am choosing to, little by little, in my own pace. But yeah, I mean, motherhood for me was like a big kick in the ass, saying like, okay, get down and dirty in it, Damla. This is your chance to find
Right.
something good underneath the mud.
Right. And I think that some people will, when they feel pushed towards it or like they're falling into it, they find ways to, they can still find ways to avoid it. And because we have so many good ways to, not that they're good things, but good ways to allow people to bury themselves into distraction and whatever that looks like, social media, alcohol, drugs, television, exercise. Like there's so many ways to throw yourself into something else and put your head in the sand. But I think that if people paused long enough to be quiet, they would see that that's not what they need.
And it comes back louder, kicks
Yes.
you with an
Kicks harder.
even bigger and
Right.
and presumably more discomfort in your body, because your body is the container, the holder of the inner children and your crystalline realm that remembers everything. Remember, not just you, your past parallel future lives and all the ancestors, all of that. So she's going to remember.
Right.
Yeah.
When I had my stroke a couple of years ago, I had a recognition that the universe was kicking me as hard as it could without permanent damage to get my attention. It's like, okay, Heather, now we're going to put you in the hospital for 4 days. Don't worry, no permanent damage, but you better pay attention. So, so they got my attention. You know, I'm still working.
Yeah. Unfortunately, discomfort is still one of the biggest ways that our attention will be alerted to something.
Yes. Yes. It's something about the human wiring, I think. Something about it has to be really uncomfortable for us to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And luckily, we have things in place that are willing to work with that, right? Okay, that's what you want. Okay, that's what we'll do.
Yeah. I think I want to say also, if you're in the middle of it, you're in that discomfort, you're in that cloud, if you will. I think I want people to remember that there's help, there's inner
Yes.
help, and there's outer help, and you can reach out for help. Which a lot of us try to do things ourselves, but it's good to remember that you can reach out for support.
I was guilty of that for a long time, of I'm the tough one and I can do it all myself. And part of my learnings have been, that's not what we want you to do, Heather. So You know,
Yeah.
it's a lesson. It's a lesson. Well, and now I actually, with all the lessons that they send me, I'm actually enjoying them. So, like, I broke my wrist, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, how terrible!" I'm like, "No, it's actually really interesting." So, so I'm just enjoying these lessons that are still coming from all of my life experiences that are being delivered to me,
Yeah. Do you know
right?
what I'm playing with these days? Okay, so as healers, we've been told that we gotta be crystal clear channels,
Yeah,
hollow bones, as they call it,
yeah.
just
That's
empty,
Reiki, right? You have to be
empty
the channel,
vessel. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be an empty vessel. I want to be an orgasmic, like involved and like enjoying vessel. I want to be an orgasmic birth channel. I don't want to be on the sidelines, like taking my soul out of the equation. No, my soul very much wants to be involved in this, not to the point of taking away anybody's lessons, but to the point of, okay, what lessons is this awakening in me? What I see in other, let me be involved in that. Let me attend to my own healing, and let this be, dare I say it, enjoyable
right? Oh my
in,
gosh.
in all the possible ways, right?
We don't need to be the wounded healer, and we don't need to be the empty channel, and we don't need to be separated from the help that we offer to people, because for a lot of healers, the help that you offer people actually fills you back. You fills your energy. And like when we first came on, you said you were working with a client and the message was for both of you.
Yeah.
And that happened yesterday. No, maybe that was just this morning. Whew. Maybe that was just this morning. I was talking to my Akashic Records reader, and the message, she said, "Oh my gosh, this message is for both of us." So I
Yeah.
said, "Yep, let's go with it. Let's go with it." So amazing.
And isn't that fun? I mean, why not? Why can't it be for
The
both?
fullness, like, I mean, we're here as for the fullness of the human experience, right, in an Earth School. So let's um, enjoy all the plates on the buffet.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject, I'm also getting over like I have to be blissful all the time. No. Like
No,
this morning, my dear cat, I love her so much. She just chose not to use her litter box for whatever reason, and it was not enjoyable. I mean, it was
no,
literally a shitty morning where I had to
yep,
deal with her things outside of the litter box. So, and I now looking at it, I'm laughing, but it's also like I just want to experience the fullness of life. I don't want to
yep.
be like a robotic, I have to sound blissful. I don't want to be like that.
We
um
call those the people of the light.
yeah, I mean, we're all of the light, I'd like to think,
Yes,
but
yes,
there's again the fullness of the experience. Humanity and being a soul just exists together, and we might as well just accept it all together.
yeah, absolutely. All of the parts, all of the parts. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your. I know it's just like a tiny sliver of your wisdom and how you can help people. And I always give the opportunity to have the last word. So, do you have a final word of wisdom for anyone?
What's coming to me right now is something about bearing witness, um, to the parts of you that are suffering. And bearing witness is just like holding a crying toddler. It's not saying to them, don't cry. It's not saying to them, you're wrong. It's saying to them, I'm here for it. So saying to yourself, I'm here for it, I think is a good reminder, is a good starting point to connect with your inner children.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Damla. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I hope that you have a great day, Damla, and I hope that you in podcast land have a great day. If anything with this resonated with you, definitely reach out. All of the links will be in the show notes for you to go and find Damla. And of course, we would love you to share this with anyone that you think would benefit. Thank you, my friends. Have an amazing day. Hi, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to this entire podcast. If you found it useful and you're like me and you like helping others, please feel free to share this. Give it a like, give it a comment. If you found something useful in it, there's a chance that someone else will find something useful as well. Also, if you have any questions at all, I can absolutely help, and I would love to help. You can email me at heather@prosperityflowcoaching.com. If you want more of this awesome content, you can follow me on Instagram, Heather Stewart Coaching. You can follow me on Facebook, Prosperity Flow Coaching. And I have a personal request. I want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. And if you could give me a review, hopefully a good one, if you could share, if you could send this out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope that you find your way to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend.